Hello, Firebirds. Welcome. We're so excited to get started. So let's get started. This is your first asynchronous session, which means you're kind of on your own on this one. Take it at your own pace, stop and start as you will. This one has a lot of words in it, so you may want to review parts of it. And our preparation over this first term up until the residency in August will go back and forth between asynchronous sessions and then synchronous sessions when we're all together in a Zoom room together, going back and forth. The asynchronous sessions, they will have some quizzes at the end of it where you can test out how clear some of the ideas are for you. And there'll be some homework too, where you get a chance to go further with the thinking, to apply some of the thinking, to take it internally a little more directly. This is our experiment. That's one thing you're going to find out about AIM. We experiment all the time. We're always trying to get more effective, to get clearer. And this is our experiment in the preparation of Firebirds this year. And we'll be really eager to learn from you how effective some of our ideas are, what lands, what's not quite working. You'll find out we ask all the time because we want to model the practice of dedicated, effective learning, even when you already know a lot but are hungry to do better. I'm Eric Booth. I'm one of the faculty members of AIM, and I've been involved with AIM since it was a first sprout of an idea. So I've seen it grow and become more effective, and I'm delighted to be invited to present a lot to you during this first term, during this time before the residency. You're going to see a lot of me. You'll hear a lot of words from me. I'm sorry they're all in English. I wish I could speak Spanish and Portuguese to speak more directly to you, but I just can't. And apologize just this one time for your having to follow subtitles and not to have the direct instruction in your own language. I wish I could do better for you. You should know I am not a musician, but I've spent the last 45 years working with teaching artists around the world in how they can become more effective as catalysts for learning. And I've been in music work for many decades since I was invited to start the teaching artist program at Juilliard. And this poor innocent theater person moved into the classical music world, which seemed a little strange to me, still seems a little strange to me, but I've come to know it as an insider outsider. And why am I here? I already answered that in the video homework. That little clip that introduced yourself and your personal mission statement, I'd made one. So if you want to find out why I'm here, go check out my video, check out your other colleagues' videos, the staff videos. It was part of your assignment, and it's one of the ways we can begin to build a sense of one another. Who's involved in this work together? What passions do the faculty bring to this work? What's interesting to your colleagues? Those little videos are there for you to start to get your colleagues familiar to you. Start to build the cohort we hope to build. But I can tell you the title of my mission statement is Mission Possible. That's just a little teaser, so go watch the video. So that's why I'm here. Why is AIM here? Why does AIM exist? Let me give you our mission statement, which is not so perfect. It's a little bit long, and over time it will probably distill, but for now it holds what we most care about. And it goes like this. Together, we challenge the status quo to catalyze transformational learning and pathways that help young people harness their inner resources to lead their own lives in and beyond music. Let me take some of those phrases out and look at them a little more closely with you. Together, we see this as a collective endeavor. What we do is we challenge the status quo. We know that everyone in AIM arrives with enormous amounts of expertise and skill from tradition and practice. But we challenge that with questions about whether it is the most effective way to achieve the results of this amazing aspiration of our field, music for social change. So we challenge the way we arrive and aim to discover if there are more effective ways to achieve those outcomes. And we do it to catalyze transformational learning. AIM is about learning. You are learning in particular. You are learning about how you teach. And transformational learning for our young people so that these programs can become more powerful, more valuable to the trajectory of the young lives we care about. And the pathways that help young people harness their inner resources. We know all the assets and strengths young people bring to their work in your programs, and we're looking to help them harness those strengths and channel them more effectively toward powerful life change goals. And that's so they can lead their own lives in and beyond music. That's our mission statement. Together, we challenge the status quo to catalyze transformational learning and pathways that help young people harness their inner resources to lead their own lives in and beyond music. Why are you here? What is your personal mission? What is the intrinsically motivated drive that brings you into the hard years' work of a Firebird Fellowship? I hope you put that in your video so we can all see it. And part of why you're here is to become part of a cohort. This amazing opportunity of 40-something passionate, talented educators from 4 continents who come together to work together, to change the field together, to change lives together. That's why the cohort is here. This field has a vocation. It's not just a job. In fact, if there's just a gig mentality in your teaching, we can't succeed. It needs to be a vocation. And I'm reminded of the quote by the theologian Frederick Buechner, who said, "Vocation is the place where your deep gladness meets the world's deep need." That's how it goes. Our passion is joyfully exploring this work to answer the deep needs that we see in the world. We have a big mission and a limited container. We don't have all the time with you that we would love to have. To fulfill our mission, there's some things we can't do in the Firebird Fellowship. How much we would love to have 2 years in a university with you, full-time, every day, working on every nuance of teaching, but that's not the container we've got. But we do have a pretty good one. And how we focus within the time container we've got is to recognize how much you bring to the Firebird Fellowship and make you a more effective learner so that you can drive the experimentation for change for the rest of your life. That's our goal, is to make you a master learner so you can become more effective with your students, with your own development, and become a leader with your colleagues and for the wider field. Part of the way we do this is we balance our work. Some of it is big vision stuff. Often that's my part of the work, maybe because I'm not a musician, but much of it is practical. The vision is to present guidance and clarity. The practical is so you can really bring it down to improving your practice. And the big ideas that hold us together are called the destinations. Here's why we invest so heavily in these 5 destinations, these 5 goals that we hold so strongly to for the whole of the program. These destinations represent the extraordinary ideal we're all reaching for. Everyone in the field is trying to realize these for their young people, these young people who haven't had a fair chance. We've found that You go at any program in the world and ask a good faculty, what's success look like to you, or what's your main goal? You'll get 20 different answers. They're all pretty good answers, but if there's 20 different answers, it's really hard to get better. It's hard to get better as a faculty. It's hard to get better as a field. It's hard to sharpen your effectiveness toward achieving those outcomes. That's why we have identified 5 destinations, not 20, not 2, 5 that seem to hold the fullest aspiration of the whole field. You'll spend a lot of time getting to know these destinations, but they represent this aspiration, this vision distilled to the essential core. And we hold our own practice to them. In AIM, we hold ourselves to it. And personally, we value these in our own lives. And we hope you will fall in love with these destinations. There's another quote to share from the author Antoine Saint-Exupéry of The Little Prince. And he describes this, he calls it a ship. That's what he's talking about. These are the 5 destinations. That's our ship. He says, if you want to build a ship, don't drum up people together to collect wood, and don't assign them tasks and work, but rather teach them to long for the endless immensity of the sea. That's why we hope you fall in love with these destinations, so that you will find your own way to explore how to arrive there, rather than our giving you 100 techniques and teaching tips that you might apply. Okay, thinking about how AIM works. We've got a few general ideas I'm going to give you, and then I'm going to list a whole bunch of the specific tools we will provide you in your fellowship year to support you in these big fancy goals I'm describing. One of the key ones is we work backward from student outcomes. That's what those destinations are. We'll present some written materials. All of them work backwards from student outcomes, not how to teach, but how to achieve these goals. That's a little different than traditional music education. And so those destinations are what we aim for, and they provide the guidance. Because those are generally not the most common destinations identified in traditional music education, we've got some unlearning to do. So there will be a back and forth between learning and unlearning in AIM. We're going to surface some of the assumptions about good teaching that you brought with you, examine whether they really are the best assumptions for achieving the goals we're after, and maybe investigating different assumptions that lead to experimentation that takes your teaching in a different direction. We will explore what those assumptions and destinations mean for you personally, as an artist, for you and your teaching. And then we will keep coming back down to, so what does this look like in teaching music? All these big ideas, all these words I'm laying out now, has to keep coming back to, okay, how do I teach it? We'll help you build a cohort. We hope to change the way you teach. And this is the Uber project of our whole field to become more effective in our teaching, in achieving those destinations. So let me walk you through the assets that AIM can provide for you, the tools for getting there. Remember, we work backwards from outcomes. Those 5 destinations for consistent guidance, so you keep them there all the time, knowing where we're heading. Let me walk you through what those 5 are. First destination is holistic development. We're teaching the whole young person, not just the musician. And our tagline, young people can learn to value themselves as whole, capable individuals. That's one of our destination goals. A second, intrinsic motivation. Young people can drive their own learning journeys out of their own passions, as opposed to extrinsic motivation, which is when they learn because we ask them to, because they should, because their friends are doing it, because they want the rewards, because they'd like to please you. All of those are extrinsic motivators. And the research is inarguable that you get way better results if the learning is driven by the learner's curiosity and passion. That's a destination for us. Third, agency. This may be the destination that has the most interest amongst AIM programs we've found. More experimentation around agency, more determination to really focus on this in programs. Agency. Young people can make empowered decisions for their lives, that they feel strong and clear enough to take action in the directions that matter to them. Next destination, obviously, artistry. Young people can deepen and develop their own inner artistry. Very familiar to us in music, but you'll find some of the ways we think about developing artistry may not be the more traditional ways. And finally, community. Young people can be co-creators of stronger communities. Our AIM cohort is one example of that. The orchestra is the eloquent example of that. Maybe there is no more potentially rich community than a group of young people, their friends, working together to achieve extraordinarily ambitious results that matter to their communities. We can build community. That's a destination. The power of those 5 destinations is their consistency, that we really stick with them all the way. But they're big abstract ideas. So to help bring them down to real practical terms, we've given each one of them 3 priority aspects, parts of them to focus on. And this is where we really focus for experimentation. There's 15 of them. Each of the 5 destinations has 3 aspects. So you can't experiment on all of them. You're going to identify the ones that are hottest for you and your program. Where do you really want to advance your work in terms of gaining these specific outcomes? So let me introduce you quickly to the 15 aspects. We'll just kind of zip through them here. You'll spend a lot more time as we get to know them more intimately, and you start to determine the ones that matter most to you. The 3 aspects we prioritize, we focus especially on for holistic development, are self-esteem, the outcome, young people feeling strong and good about themselves, self-regulation, young people being able to manage their own learning, their own behavior, and physical health. Certainly know that from musical practice, making sure that they've got the body life that supports their achievement. The 3 aspects we focus on for intrinsic motivation, the 3 somewhat more specific areas to focus on are drive. What is the inner commitment that is driving young people's participation? Growth mindset, a concept from education at large that you'll learn a lot more about, but it's actually the young person's belief that they can accomplish almost anything if they work hard enough and they care enough. As an internalized mindset, we can develop that as teachers. And metacognition. So young people become aware of how they're working, how they undertake processes, how they succeed as a learner. Our 3 aspects for agency, the 3 areas we especially focus on for our experimentation and documentation: expression, young people's abilities to express themselves in and beyond music; decision-making, young people being able to make strong, clear choices in their work. How do we accomplish that in music? so that it starts to develop that capacity for life. And creative thinking. We don't want them just to become technically minded. We want them to be creative leaders. So how do we develop creative thinking in our musical instruction? Next, artistry. The three aspects of artistry we focus on are musical understanding. So students have an ownership of music, how it works, a fascination, a wonder, a delight in the way music works. Performance capabilities that go beyond just the technical, but boy, we want those technical abilities to be good. I mean, certainly more traditional music education focuses almost entirely on that aspect of performance capabilities, and they matter to us too. It's just that we hold them in a wider range of destinations. And finally, aesthetic connection. We want them to be able to develop criteria of excellence in their own judgment, to be able to determine what's better and worse, what makes sense, what makes less sense, the aesthetic component of the artistry of life. And finally, in community, our three aspects that we focus on are relationships, so that young people can feel included, they can form and sustain positive relationships with others. You certainly know how well this develops in music. Team skills. Boy, any chamber group, any orchestra is a team. It's a powerful way to develop team capacity that's going to be essential for any success they may have in the world. And finally, social justice. We want our young, as a destination, our young people to be committed to safety and fairness, to be prepared to be an advocate for that in any work they undertake for the rest of their lives. So those are the aspects. They're still kind of abstract, aren't they? So we bring them down to earth a little bit further through micro strategies. These are very practical musical experiments, activities you can pick up and use. And they're valuable because they're very specific to music. They are directly aligned with the aspects which are aligned to the destinations. So these are practical experiments you can try that in fact aim directly towards those destinations that AIM is all about. You'll meet a lot of the micro strategies, but they help you bring down to earth the kind of practical experimentation that we hope you'll be undertaking all year. AIM is also going to provide you with a coach. This is one of the great luxuries of life, to have a master of our field, someone deeply understanding of AIM's goals, sitting beside you virtually, one-on-one for the whole year, helping you determine your strengths and your weaknesses and where you should be putting some extra energy and what matters most. A coach is not the same as a teacher or a mentor. A teacher's job is teach you stuff. A mentor's job is to give you advice, to provide guidance, to help you make good choices about your career. But a coach is in there with you. Our coaches are looking at your teaching videos with you, helping analyze how it's going, where you're getting better. One of the unique things about a coach is a coach believes you already have all the answers you need within you. A coach completely is invested in your full capability and works to help you get clearer on what is it you really think, or what is it you really want to try, or what is it you know, and then helps you get clearer on how things are going. So a coach is on your side with their full energy and attention, helping you use what you've got to get the best outcomes possible. What an amazing luxury in life to have someone who cares so much and brings so much expertise right there with you, close repeatedly for a year, helping you guide your development. You'll be working with your coach with a thing we call the TAF, the Teaching Analysis Framework. This is a tool that helps you analyze your own teaching, helps you manage your own improvement in a clear and sometimes direct way. It's a bit of documentation. This is where we ask you to do some paperwork, but there's nothing gratuitous about the paperwork. It's very carefully designed to be entirely supportive to help you become that master learner that is our goal in AIM. We're also going to guide you in learning how to lead action research experiments. Action research may sound a little bit academic or a little bit scary. It is academic in that it is accepted widely around the world in academia as a legitimate kind of research, but it's user-friendly research. Unlike, regular research where the researcher stands outside the work and waits, takes it, carefully analyzes what's going on, collects data, and then at the end reports back to you on how you're doing. In action research, the action researcher is right in the middle of the action and can change practice along the way. That's you. You're going to be designing and leading a series of experiments using this simplified format we're going to teach you. Very natural way, slightly formalized way of really just plain good professional learning, where you identify something that is significant, you'd like to work on, it matters to you, and you have a hunch about how you could make it better. You could call it a hypothesis. And you figure if you try this, you might get that result. So you organize a little experiment. You figure out how you collect some evidence and documentation along the way to show how it's going. So you're not just left with your opinion. And at the end, you take a look at what you've collected and determine what the effect was. That's action research. It's that simple. But because of the slight formalization of it, it provides a kind of rigor. It provides a kind of authority to your learning. And we're finding after a few rounds of action research, you begin to internalize those mental steps. You become a more effective learner. And it gives authority to the learning you can share with your colleagues in the FAR lab and beyond the FAR lab in your program and to the rest of the field. It's a way we can contribute to raising the level of the whole field through learning that isn't just about, I liked it, I didn't like it, or my opinion on this was a good idea, that was a good idea, but in fact, action research that's based in some evidence to take our field forward towards our big goals. Other assets we've got, I've already mentioned this amazing cohort of 40-something Firebirds sharing an aspiration, wanting to support one another, wanting to become friends, hang out, and actually become a group of lifelong friends, which we find really does happen with cohorts of alumni. And we've got a FAR lab for you. This is a smaller community, a kind of an essential tool for effective learning. This is your Firebird group within your program. If you're coming as a group, you're going to meet regularly to create this amazing little laboratory where you have the opportunity to share what you're learning, to work out questions with one another, to share your experiments, to figure out how to do things better, how to affect the wider program you work in. It's the small working community that has to work for you. That's the FAR lab. We have some Firebirds who are not part of a program group. So we'll support you to have a FAR lab that meets virtually. Won't be quite so easy to share a glass of wine together. You'll figure out a way. But a FAR lab is like this home base. We hope you can develop this sort of special bond in your FAR lab where together you are undertaking change as a leadership group for your whole program. We've got a strong faculty for you. You meet most of them at the residency. You'll meet a lot of them before the residency virtually. But these are lifelong dedicated experts in this field who are highly enthusiastic about the special contributions AIM can make and about your contribution as a Firebird. So we bring you a strong faculty you'll get to know well. And not just that, we've got a cohort of alumni that you'll be working with. They know what you're going through. They have been through the Firebird Fellowship. They know what it's like and how stressful it can get and how powerful it can get. And we're going to provide a number of occasions when you can work with them, when they can support you, when they will do some teaching. We hope they'll set a pretty good example for you about what continuing with AIM beyond your Firebird year can look like, because we want to have a long-term relationship with you. And the alumni are our future faculty. They're the future leaders of AIM. As we give over AIM to the world, they will be the leaders. You will be the leaders that carry it forward. And finally, we've got this residency upcoming. In August, we got some weeks together. They are intense. They're so fun. They're so full of new ideas and trying things out and working with one another. And bring your bathing suit and lots of fun. It's an amazing experience we'll have together in Lisbon. Can't wait to see you there. And let me close this first asynchronous session in a Beethoven sort of way. You know how those, no, I'm not a musician, but you know how the end of his symphonies, it like keeps ending? There's like lots of times when the music seems like it's finished now, but then there's another ending. Well, I'm going to end this with 3 endings, very Beethoven. And it's because I wanted to plant 3 key ideas in the end of our first session. And the first one is a really pretentious quote. And it's a pretentious quote because it's from me. It's from a book I wrote a couple of decades ago, but it focuses in on, I think, the stakes that we're involved in. And it relies on the word yearning, which is that hunger we seek to tap in young people. It manifests in their intrinsic motivation, but it's this hunger for a full life. It's this hunger for what's possible in life for them. And here's the quote. People are shaped by what they extend themselves into. We must be very careful with the objects and opportunities we present to ourselves and to our young people because we are changed by them. Art lends shape to yearning. Art is the best container for yearning because it is so rich, so human, so satisfying on so many levels. Art gives serious outer shape to serious inner yearning. And if these yearnings are informed by less rich objects, they eventually go to sleep, they die, or eventually express themselves in the harmful symptoms of search that fill the pages of the daily newspaper. That's the stakes I think we're playing for. Taking this spiritual fullness young people bring to our programs and giving it a shape that will allow them to create the lives they want and that matter. My second Beethoven ending is another pretentious quote because it's from Plato, the ancient Greek philosopher. And he said, if a society is going to succeed, there's one thing it must accomplish. And that one thing, this is not Plato, this is me, that one thing doesn't have to do with governments or social institutions. The one thing it must accomplish if a society is going to succeed is to teach its young people to find pleasure in the right things. There is no right thing than what we offer young people to make music with their friends in highly ambitious collective endeavor to make something that matters. And they need to find pleasure in it. So it's a reminder to keep the fun alive, to keep it alive for us in AIM, however serious the work becomes, Pleasure is what leads us toward health. And finally, I want to end with a little piece of a poem. This is from the poem Two Tramps in Mud Time by Robert Frost. And here's why I wanted to share it. Already in just this first session, you've gotten that there's all these high, lofty goals, yearning, and destinations that we're reaching toward. And then there's all this challenge, this difficulty that we face along the way. You know how hard it is to run a good class. You know all the problems you face with students and programs. And that's a hard balancing act to keep the high aspiration full as you deal with these really challenging realities. And keeping that balance going is the essential element of sustainability. And this stanza kind of captures that. Here's how it goes. But yield who will to their separation. My object in living is to unite my avocation and my vocation as my two eyes make one in sight. Only where love and need are one, and the work is play for mortal stakes. Is the work ever really done for heaven and the future's sakes? Welcome, Firebirds. We're so glad you're here.